What is your cultural connection to food? Welcome to Skincare and Food Podcast, episode 15. I'm Maria,
And I'm Amira.
and we are joined today by our very special guest, Andre Lam, and he's going to take us through his journey of his cultural connection through food. Andre, feel free to tell us about yourself and how you came to this journey.
Hello. Well, my name is Andre Lamb. I am the regional business development manager for Kate Somerville. That's how I know both of you lovely ladies. And so I have discovered my journey for food just actually recently. I'm always on a journey for food. That's always a given, right? I'm always searching for food. That's been since day one. But it wasn't until just this past year when we, at our company, at Kate Somerville, we did our AAPI, and I was part of the group that was really talking about it and leading it. And that's when I kind of came to the realization that, I'm not very connected to my culture, to my heritage, to my background as much as I would like to. And it kind of sucks. And because people, either they've been to their mainland homeland country, or their parents were very dedicated and taught them. And not saying my parents weren't, but I was also very rebellious, so I, chose not to really do much. Plus also my parents came here when they were in their teens. So a chunk of most of their lives were here in America. So I can't tell you what happened in Vietnam, like, history wise. I can't tell you what really happened in China. I'd have to Google everything. But what I can tell you is the food. And that was passed down through me to my brother, my sister, my family members. Like all of us, to some extent, know how to cook or at least identify a dish that you really love from our culture. So that's kind of where I also realized during, because it's been Stop Asian American Hate or Stop Asian Hate in general, I've realized that it's not just me, but there's so many other people here who might not have the same cultural connections as, you know, other people. And the biggest thing that really connects us all together is food. So it's kind of crazy.
Absolutely. I love the family connection that you mentioned, that with your brothers and sisters and being able to connect through. For me, that's really what it is. It's really being able to have just that tie into family. So I love hearing it. I'm curious about what some of the favorite dishes that you've cooked. Is there one in particular that is just like your passion dish?
Well, for me, I love this. It's a beef noodle soup from Vietnam. It's bún bò Huế, and so it's spicy beef noodle soup. And so, most people think Vietnam and they think pho, and so think of it as like a spicy pho with like more like udon type noodles. And so the flavor is also going to be a lot more spicier, bordering more like lemongrass Thai flavors. So I really like it. So if you love, more of that spicier flavor, you'll really love bún bò Huế. But if you like more of that really, you know, clean, very fresh, broth, then you're going to be sticking more with like pho. But that's mine. My brother and my sister also like certain Vietnamese dishes, such as like bun beo, which are little. It's a rice flour dish where you steam it and it becomes like a rice cake. And then when you cook it, you can either embed it or you can put it on top with some shredded shrimp. So and you eat it with fish sauce. So they love that. My roommate loves bun xeo, which is a large Vietnamese savory crepe. And we've been on the search for like the perfect place in San Jose ever since moving up here to the Bay Area to try to find that because that's her favorite food. And, when her mom came to visit, they were like, okay, we're going to go on the search for this because it's her favorite food. And, her mom could make it, but it's kind of, it takes a lot of time and a lot of space. And we didn't have that at the time. So, like I didn't realize again for my roommate, that was her connection back home, and her mom knows it, her brother knows it, everybody in her family knows that that's her favorite. So when they see her, they're like, this is what we need to get her.
Are you talking about the crepe pancakes with the bean sprouts inside?
Yes.
That's on. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's like her absolute favorite. There is a place I found in San Jose that specializes in it, so I'm super happy. I mean, it's right there in the name. It says bun sale. So, it's like going to a place that's like burgers. I'm like, I found it.
That's awesome. You know what's interesting? I came from Indonesia, right?
Mhm.
So we love our spicy food, but I think a lot of people are not realizing that tropical countries don't have 4 seasons. We have 1 season, and that's it. It's hot or hotter. But if you think about all the tropical countries, they love their spicy.
Yeah.
Spicy food. Like they love their hot soup and they put chili sauce in it and it makes it super, super spicy, right? I think this is my theory, because when you eat spicy food, then you kind of sweat and then it actually cools you down.
Yeah.
Do you have a theory?
I honestly, that sounds pretty accurate, you know, and they'll probably drink it with some nice cooling beverage that will cool you down internally, therefore it cools you down as a whole. Pennyworth's drink, like you take the leaves of it, you blend it together, you strain it out, add a little sugar to it, and we call it rama, and it's a green drink. It's essentially just straight pureed single vegetable that you strain out, and it has a very it's sweet and it has a little bit of that earthy flavor to it, but it is really refreshing. You know, my mom used to boil artichokes and we'd have artichokes juice essentially, and she's like, that's really cooling for you, like internally. So maybe that's how they combat it, but you know, some of like the Asian mamas like up in the tropical countries, like I see them popping those Thai chilies, and it's, you know, that's a feat. So I don't know how they do that.
That's so fascinating. Well, you know, I love spicy food. I'm curious just about the botanical side of it. Before the original trade routes with Marco Polo and all the original explorers, it was just the plants that they had around them. So there must be some really amazing plants that grow. And I mean, you know, now hopefully it's a trend for people to think about buying locally and buying from local farms, but back in the day, that's just what it was. You grabbed what you had in your backyard, what was around you. I love that. And Andre, you already have me salivating with spicy noodles because I'm a noodle fanatic.
I'm so hungry right now already, I can tell you.
Yeah, I'm literally starving. I haven't had anything for breakfast, so I'm like, oh, what do I want to DoorDash right now, because I want spicy noodles. But noodles, and you know, with the trading routes, you know, it's funny because everyone's always like, why are there so many different variations of noodles, right? You have like your ramen noodles, you have udon noodles, and then in China you have like all these different noodles. Like depending on the region you're from, you have like your rice noodles, then you have your buckwheat noodles, and then you'd have all these other crazy noodles. And I never really thought much of it. And when you said that, I remembered something that I was learning that was a fun fact, was because people in every region created different noodles based on what they had available to them. So that's why every, you know, province region in China, like they might have like a specialty noodle, but that's because that's all they could grow back then. So I was like, okay, you know, interesting fun facts.
I love that. I've been experimenting with different types of noodles. I love a traditional whole wheat, or not whole wheat, excuse me, just like durum wheat noodle. I've been eating the noodles made from garbanzo beans, which for my background, predominantly I'm Egyptian and Russian, but after doing a DNA test, I literally, which I already had a feeling, have just about every culture in my background. And I always knew there had to be some Italian because I love noodles and I love to talk with my hands. And sure enough, there is Italian in there. So I guess that's my connection, certainly to pasta, but I do eat garbanzo beans just about every day. So perhaps subconsciously, even though I didn't grow up with traditional Egyptian food, having those types of beans is just kind of in my DNA. I don't know where the spicy comes from. I guess maybe that's just my connection to everywhere.
One noodle that is not widely used yet, I think, in the US is the mung bean noodle, the glass noodle. I've seen it in Korean restaurants, the japchae. They're kind of like their tossed noodle with soy and sesame oil. It is also very good, but I think it's keto friendly, or it's Whole30 friendly, because it is mung bean based.
I believe I've seen it called Miracle Noodle. There's a company that, to give a shout out for something I haven't tried, but I've seen the ads that, and reading it, it does seem to be wheat free and kind of fit into all the different elements that are there. I'm curious about texture, because to me, everything breaks down to texture, whether it's food, whether it's skincare. And so for me, it would just be, curious. And I also believe that depending on the ingredients it's made out of, and then the sauce that you're putting it in, the absorption rate, and how that really enhances the food, which I'm sure both of you know because both of you are master chefs. So I'd love to hear your insight on that.
Oh, I don't know about master chef. I'm obsessed with food. I love to cook, but I'm not trained at all, but I do love food.
Same. I mean, I started because culinary was something that I had actually wanted to do when I was a child to a teenager, and I was so dead set on it in my sophomore year. I was like, I don't need to learn math or anything. I just need to know how to cook. And I started actually being able to take courses and get my feet wet. And again, like what I learned very quickly was because I'm also a teenager, I didn't want to do this as a profession. I'd rather do this as a hobby because I was 16 and I was already burnt out, and I was like, oh no, like I'm not cooking for like 50 people. I'm not making the same dish every day. So I felt like it kind of the idea of cooking and owning your own restaurant sounds so grand, but then once you start, it's almost like being a makeup artist. You go and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna do so much makeup and do like my own looks, but then all of a sudden it's like, no, you're doing it to somebody else's standards and what they like. So it kind of shifts everything that you wanted to do. And so then it got really like interesting. So I said, you know what, not a profession, just a hobby. That's my goal. Every day, just eat.
Yeah, I think, cooking for a lot of people, a majority, like a big thing of audience is actually very, very stressful because it's the high pressure. You have to make it perfect every single time. And not only that, because everybody's perfect standard is different. So for me, a perfect steak would be something that's medium rare and bloody. But for somebody like Amira, for example, it's like, ew, don't give me that. It's like, it has to be well
Dry
done.
out that meat, dry it out.
Yeah. But going back to my roots, Indonesian culture, we have hearty breakfast. So we have fried rice for breakfast. We have fried noodles for breakfast. We have meatball soup for breakfast. But my absolute favorite is this dish called soto. And it's a soup that has a turmeric, lemongrass, and kaffir lime leaf base. Super, super yummy. It's super savory. And it's just like, it warms you up in the morning and it just fills you up. But if I eat cereal in the morning, I'll crash by 10 o'clock. Yeah, but it might have been just because I was kind of pre-conditioned to eating heartier breakfast. So
yeah, I think having that protein base really helps the elonged energy that's there, where the cereals traditionally out of wheat, they have such a short energy spike that goes up, and then that's where that crash really comes from. So I'm with you. As soon as we finish doing this, we'll be eating the soup that my husband meal preps for us, which is a turkey soup, turkey breast, and garbanzo beans, definitely a turmeric base that's in there as well, and a chicken broth. And that's how I start my protein off in the morning. I have typically the heavier meal in the beginning of the day. That way I can keep my energy throughout, because I'm not able to drink coffee. I can't have caffeine. And so for me, having that good protein first thing in the morning just gets me ready.
yeah.
No, I agree. I don't have caffeine. I've had to cut caffeine out in the past, 4 months. I've had a caffeine detox, and I'm slowly reintroducing it in very small increments, and that's only through like kombucha or like boba, and that's literally the extent of my caffeine. So I feel you where I need something in the morning to kind of help keep me up. And for me, it's actually more fruits, and sometimes, and if it's grains, cereal, like no, but oatmeal actually surprisingly helps me stay full throughout the morning, and the fruits kind of just keep me going.
What do you put on your oatmeal? I'm just curious.
So I get the pre, like the I get the cheap oatmeal, so I literally buy them and then I just put the hot water in it. So I'll have the stuff already with like the blueberries, and I'll have cinnamon apple in there already for me. But I like got it from like Modern Oats has a couple that I really like, and they have a goji berry one that's really good. So not the Quaker Oats kind, because I'm not, that's okay, but I need like steel cut oats. So or like the quick oats that like make it just delicious. But I also have to be careful with like the sugar content and like all that stuff too. So I just want to make sure that it's actually not like just they're shoving sugar in there and now I'm just eating like, candy for breakfast.
Yeah.
But,
Yes, absolutely.
I still have my coffee in here. So. I'm Indonesian after all, so I started drinking coffee when I was 5 years old. So it's like I can't get away from coffee. I just love the taste of it.
Well, and I think that's probably the thread. I didn't have caffeine growing up. And so if I do have it, I get really jittery and anxious. So I think that almost kind of ties into the food. It's just those things that you are used to and you grow up with and you come accustomed to. Although that being said, I love getting creative and I love being able to try new foods. And Maria, I'm always appreciative for you to introduce me to something new and experimenting. And Andre, I would love to try some of your recipes. Perhaps one day we could do this in future and we could actually see you cook and I could taste some of your wonderful aromas. I love seeing you prepare on your Insta Reels, and the ginger is what I want to learn more about. So I'm so excited. I do want to give a special mention that you were the very first guest that we have on our podcast. So I know we're already into season 2 and going through, but just want to share an immense appreciation and gratitude to you, because I just love that you're coming back to be with us again and that you kicked us off. So much appreciation and love to you.
Oh, thank you. I love this. Like I haven't had a chance to watch all of it yet. I've watched like segments, so I'm like, oh my gosh, what are they gonna do next? Because it's so exciting, and I honestly like it's since the whole industry of beauty has just changed. And all of us are doing different things than what we were like 2 years ago. It's so hard, and so I never realized that behind the scenes, sometimes taking home back to back to back calls, like I'm more exhausted doing that than I am going to store standing like 10 plus hours. So no, I really appreciate you guys like doing this, because it's a nice mental break sometimes when I'm like, I've had 20 calls and they could have been emails, and then now I'm like, watching this to take my mind off of the fact that I have another call in like, 20 seconds or something.
Well, should we do a cookout in the future?
Sounds amazing. Because I want to try everything. Like I want to eat all these wonderful dishes. I mean, mentioning it just sounds amazing. So next level coming soon.
Yeah, I will share my recipe of the soto, the soup that I mentioned. Andre, do you have your version of your spicy beef soup recipe you can share?
I don't. My mother is actually very ashamed that I have not done it yet. She's actually hounded me because I haven't, like, I have almost every appliance known to man. And my mom was like, you have an Instant Pot, like, make it. And I'm like, I'm just so lazy lately. And it comes down to time, because I haven't found the time. Like, making pho in it, so easy now. It's like, I can put it in there, like, and I've learned to be good with a slow cooker, but even then at the end of the day, like it's just waking up in the morning to prepare everything, and I don't have the time yet for it because I enjoy my sleep too much, but I will get there. But ginger I love, and honestly, like for me, experimenting with ginger was one of my favorite things, because I would try to figure out like stir fry. I just throw in julienne ginger and it just made it work, because ginger is so harsh on its own, which I like. I take ginger shots whenever I can like buy them, because I'm too lazy to make them sometimes. But just in dishes, like there's a Chinese and also Vietnamese dish with ginger chicken that I love to make, and that I can totally send you the recipe for it, because it is one of my favorite. It's super easy to make. Basically, it's just like caramelized sugar, and you saute some ginger, chicken, and sauce. That's majority of the recipe, and it's you're done. And you serve it with rice, and you're good to go.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Andre, for coming and joining us today. And you know, for every one of you out there, if you want to share your memory of food, like the food that connects you to your culture, we'd love to know about it, and just post it in our comments section. So, but hope to see everyone again next time. And thanks again so much, Andre, for coming and joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for having me. I'll see you guys soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.